Yeah, I mean, we do have a list of questions that we use, but quite often they go out the window. We use them exactly as you say, as conversation starters. The bit that's always hard for us, and I'm sure you've experienced this, is you have to get behind those kind of rehearsed answers. It's a bit like when we used to work with footballers, when we were working with Nike Football. The kind of joke was whatever question you would ask a footballer, they would always say, oh, it's about hard work, because they're so media trained that they will just give you that stock answer. And it's really, really, really hard to get behind that. And that's a slightly different thing because you're dealing with people who are media trained and, they're aware that the club monitors what they say very carefully and, they're very cautious with that. With brands, it's not so much that they're media trained, it's just that it's kind of what I was saying about this automatic behavior. They just do things because they do them. And a lot of brands, a lot of companies start up the way we did, as a complete accident. We did some work with the brand Pop Sugar years ago. And they wanted us to come in and kind of find their brand story. And I asked them, and I said, why did you start the brand? And he said, to make money. Okay, well, that's a bit disheartening. But even that is like, well, okay, that is true, but why this? Why are you not running a steel company? Why are you not running a series of gambling shops? There is a reason that you're doing this. And sometimes the answer isn't anything more enlightening than just keep asking them and you will get there and very much sort of following their answers, just having that sort of radar attuned to when they say something that's a bit interesting, you go, oh, okay, tell me more about that. And sometimes just trying to get to the personal bit. And, quite often those reasons are so buried that they won't know them. When you ask the question dead on, they'll kind of give you those stock answers. But if you sort of say to them, okay, what was going on in your life at that time? What were you doing? Where were you living? Oh yeah, do you remember that? If you start asking them about films, about culture, about that time, quite often they'll reveal a lot more. We pitched this idea when we were at Apple that they wanted to introduce the leadership team to the employees. And they said, oh, we're just going to do a Q&A. And we said, oh, that's really boring. So it's really boring and they'll just have all the stock answers. And so we came up with this idea of 5 tracks that changed my life. And we said, that's much more interesting because you'll hear about the person, but they'll have personal memories attached to those songs, to moments in their life, and it'll get you round the sort of, get you in the back door a little bit. You'll get something a bit more interesting. And so that's kind of what we try and do with brands when we sit down and chat to them. We just sort of try and get a little bit more of, okay, yeah, we've heard all of that, great. Now tell us this, why did you do this? And one thing that can be quite interesting is, and this might sound odd, but try and annoy them a little bit. There's a really, and not too much of course, but there's a really good story in Made to Stick where they're talking about piano makers. And the idea of this exercise was to get everybody to say what was great about their brand. And these piano makers, I can't remember their name, they gave this really kind of stock answer about what was great, and everybody just kind of rolled their eyes. And it turned into a bit of a debate. And one person said, it said something along the lines of, it really wouldn't be a disaster if this disappeared from the world. And the guy got quite irate, and sort of it gave us lovely, sorry, I touched the mic. This guy gave this lovely, eloquent explanation of why this type of piano was so fantastic. And at that moment, they said, that's it. That's what you should say. Now, that sounds a bit hokey in some ways, but quite often if you challenge a client and just say, well, a client will often say, oh, we're different. We care, whatever it is. And if you push them and say, well, yeah, so does everyone. Everyone tells me that. And if you can keep going, to some extent, it's just that skill of being a good interviewer, a good listener. Of just, you'll know from interviewing other people that you just have to follow those answers and just kind of pay attention and just keep digging and be a little bit annoying. I don't think there's a secret killer question that we said, not one we've discovered. If anyone finds it, please let me know. It would make life a lot easier. But no, it's just that, I think, just trying to get beyond those stock responses.